Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 103. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday. Steelers Nation Day, the legal tampering period just about to begin. We're going to try to squeeze in a quick, short show today to cover some news that came out earlier this Monday, some news over the weekend, and then get ourselves ready for the start of the legal tampering period where moves should be a plenty. Dave, how you doing?
All right. Happy Monday. Happy Manic Monday. They don't like it to be called tampering period, but it is what it is for sure. But quite a morning already. Got a little bit of Steelers news to discuss first thing this morning. There's a new dynamic pass rusher in the AFC North now, and got Minka on the move to another team as well early on this Monday morning. You got the news of Tua officially going to be cut. That's not a surprise there. So, dealer's choice, where would you like to start this morning?
Well, let's start with Pittsburgh. They've made their first re-signing of free agency in the legal tampering period, although, of course, they could have re-signed free agents at any point. And the first name to drop is cornerback Asante Samuel Jr., reported bright and early Monday morning. He will return to Pittsburgh on a one-year, $4 million deal. We don't know exact specifics of the contract, but on a one-year deal, there's not a whole lot to really need to suss out. So Samuel was signed onto the practice squad last year, coming off that neck or spinal surgery, played a handful of games, had the pick against Tua and Miami in that primetime victory. Figured one of the corners would come back at least in Pierre and Samuel. Pierre reportedly going to have a strong market, so he may be exiting, but Samuel will return.
All right. And if you look over I think we went over some of these expected projected contract values the other day on Friday. I think PFF had Asante Samuel Jr. at 1 year, $3.5 million average. So he comes in a little bit higher than what they projected there. If you look at offset from Rule of 51, that'd be slightly over $3 million in cap space, available cap space used by re-signing him. The team obviously has not officially announced his re-signing yet, but we would imagine that might happen by the end of the day, and we'll keep our ears and eyes peeled for any other of these soon to be unrestricted free agents for the Steelers here. This thing will start getting, it already is a wild morning, and it's 10:10 Eastern time, and we've got I would imagine a little less than 2 hours to go until the official tampering period opens. But one player at least at this point, and look at a $4 million cash earnings at least for the time being. Asante Samuel Jr. jumps up to number 11 overall on the cash earning list for 2026. He'll obviously, by the end of the day, might even be lower than that. And obviously, as the offseason goes on, he should fall deeper down that list, you would imagine there. But that's where he is right now. And this team, look, going into the weekend, it was looking like the Steelers, like you said, needed to re-sign at least one of these soon to be free agent cornerbacks due to the shape of the room. We'll see what happens with James Pierre, and I think our girlfriend Josina Anderson had some sort of an update on what she expects the market to be for James Pierre, right?
She did. She said 8 or 9 teams are in the mix for Pierre. Now, what exactly does that mean would require some more follow-up questions if we could ever present them to Josina. I doubt there's going to be 8 or 9 offers to James Pierre's agent in his inbox whenever the tampering period begins at noon. But the point is probably a robust market for a cornerback with some size coming off a career year and would signal a decent chance he's going to walk, especially now that Samuel is staying in Pittsburgh.
All right, PFF has James Pierre 2 years, $5 million average there. So if Asante Samuel is worth $4 million, you would probably value James Pierre greater than Samuel, right?
I do, and I've talked about 2 years, 11 million, 2 years, 12 million was the ballpark figures in my head for what a deal for Pierre could look like. Now he's older, he's about to turn 30, and Samuel's a couple years younger, and that's age is a big factor into how players get valued and who gets paid what. But I thought Pierre had a really good year, not a ton of tread on those tires, hasn't been starting 100 games. He's been in the league for a long time, since 2020, but as a special teamer, so he's kind of a young, almost 30, if there is such a thing. So we'll see the evaluation. Obviously, if there's going to be a market for Pierre, the price is going to go up, and he'll work that leverage to his advantage. So we'll see.
All right. What else Steelers related here? Anything? I think that's the only re-signing we have so far. We got a former Steeler being
Well,
traded again.
let me just ask you this: What do you envision Samuel's role to be? Because $4 million kind of puts you. You could be a backup, a rotational guy. You could start in theory. How do you see Samuel fitting into the 26 Steelers?
I think you hit on it. $4 million salary gives you the flexibility to either start him, and look, at his age, he's not going to be much of a special teams asset, but he would be an extremely really nice player to have, to be able to come off the bench potentially in playoff side. But I think it all depends on how the rest of this offseason moves. We expect this team to obviously draft a cornerback at some point. We'll have to see what the future holds for James Pierre here in the next several hours or into the start of the new league year. But yeah, I think the key takeaway here is you've got an experienced guy, a guy that didn't play overly, bad at all, during his limited time with the Steelers last year, and it just gives you the flexibility with that price. If you ended up going the route of bringing James Pierre back as well too, you could have those two obviously compete to maybe play on the outside opposite Joey Porter Jr. And if you go into the draft and you draft somebody, it gives you a little bit of time maybe to develop that youngster to maybe take over by, at some point during the season. So I just think the key takeaway here is you got an experienced guy that can obviously start for you if need be. And if he doesn't play up to standards, or you have somebody that you can develop and work in as a starter as the season goes on, it's not like you're paying him a lot of cash to make him, say, the first or second guy off the bench.
Yeah, there's going to be some flexibility to, have his role be dictated by what else happens in free agency. I still think Pittsburgh should take a big swing at cornerback, be it a good, big double-digit money contract, a $10 million plus per year deal on the open market, or a draft pick. It's a good cornerback class, and so I would not be stopping at Samuel or just looking to fill in depth behind. But we'll see. And Samuel obviously has good ball skills and was a strong corner with the Chargers when healthy. The neck issue and the spinal issue was the big issue that set him back, but Pittsburgh has trusted his medicals and signed him initially last year and felt good enough about his health and his fit under this new coaching staff under Patrick Graham to bring him back. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And look, this is the same team that re-signed. We just went over the other day, Levi Wallace, and who was the other, the identical,
Kellen Witherspoon.
Yeah, Kellen Witherspoon. And those ended up being each 2 years at $8 million. So not much inflation there for quote unquote potential backup cornerbacks there. But the key thing is you get a guy back in the fold once again, a guy that's experienced, and a guy that could potentially, we'll see how the rest of the offseason starts or goes, could potentially start for you in week 1, depending on how things roll out the rest of the way here.
As you were saying, Dave, some ex-Steelers defensive back news today. Former Steelers safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's been on the trade block in Miami the last couple of weeks, he's officially being sent to the New York Jets for a 2026 7th-round pick. So pretty cheap value there. Fitzpatrick is signing a 3-year, $40 million extension. As part of that deal, it can be made official Wednesday when the new league year opens up and trades can be processed. So there's a contract coming for Minkah, but they had to really rework that deal because Minkah had a really big salary his last year. And what is the structure of that extension? we shall see. So I call that a pretty big fall for Minkah, former 3-time All-Pro, to being traded last year in that blockbuster Ramsey Jonnu Smith deal, to being traded again less than 1 year later to the Jets, which is he's home. He's going home. He's a New Jersey kid, but he's going to the Jets, and winning may not be in Minkah's future.
Yeah, and people chimed in right away saying, "Well, why couldn't the Steelers do something like that?" Well, the rules dictate that the Steelers could not trade back for Minkah this offseason. The only way that Minkah had a chance of landing back in Pittsburgh this offseason was if the Dolphins cut him. What does it say? You don't see very many intra-division trades these days, but what does it say about what the Dolphins think about Minkah at this point to say, go on over to the Jets?
Yeah, nothing great, I'm sure. I mean, it says Miami's in full rebuild mode, which good for them. They have released and traded and moved off every single veteran, big contract, basically possible. Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, Tua released today. Minkah, I'm sure other names I'm missing. James Daniels, former Steelers offensive lineman. So they are really kind of tearing this thing down to the studs, which is probably required for a roster that needs a reset and needs to free up some money. So yeah, I mean, Minkah, played okay last year in Miami, but was far from the playmaking splash guy he was in his prime in Pittsburgh. And I guess Pittsburgh's calculation of why they moved off of him last year was that he would not return to Pro Bowl All-Pro form, and that seems to be the correct evaluation.
All right. Didn't have Minkah being traded for a 7th on my bingo card this morning, especially intra-division like that to the Jets. So we obviously wish him the best and see if he can rebound. And I'm interested to see what that extension looks like once they get the ink dried on it and how they rearrange the money. But obviously not coming to Pittsburgh, and we kind of thought that would be the case unless he was unless he was cut outright. Looks like the Steelers are expected to re-sign, according to Ari Miroff. The Steelers are expected to re-sign linebacker Cole Holcomb to a 2-year, $5 million deal. So,
yeah, they got to give me the news alert first, Dave.
Yeah. So we've got another one, it seems like, on the board there.
2 years, $5 million for Holcomb, who played his first defensive snaps and first snaps in general after that devastating 2024 knee injury in November. Had missed the, was that 2024 or 2023? I think I'm getting my dates wrong on that, Dave.
What was it? He obviously made it back. Like he injured
23. He got it, right?
Right.
Okay. So anyway, he missed all of the 24 season, then came back and I thought played some serviceable snaps. I wasn't sure if Pittsburgh was going to bring him back or not. New coaching staff. He's about to be 30 years old. Could this be a sign they still could cut Malik Harrison? If that move was going to happen, you think it's going to happen really, really soon, kind of corresponding if Holcomb gets finally signed. So it's a cheap contract, and so the money's really light. I just kind of wonder what that role is going to be, especially if Malik Harrison stays. Holcomb has minor special teams value, but as he gets older, that's going to be reduced even more. There really wasn't a role for him once Malik Harrison came back from the knee injury last year, so I'm not really sure. This could just be at-large depth and an experienced guy, so you don't have to go out there and spend more draft capital or another, outsider that you bring in. But a little surprised by this because I'm not entirely sure what the vision or role is going to be for Holcomb.
All right. Yeah, he was injured in 2023 was when he had that serious knee injury there. So what did they say? It was 2-year, $5 million. I mean, that's cheap. The big question now is, what is this? Like you said, now that it sounds like they might have this signed, sealed, and delivered, what does this mean for Malik Harrison? And could he still potentially be a quote unquote, I guess, salary cap casualty here by the start of the new league year or soon thereafter?
Yeah, we'll see. That shoe's going to drop. You think it's going to drop here pretty quickly and let Malik Harrison get on his free agent experience if they were to cut him. But Holcomb had that early 3-4 base roll really starting in week 3 last year after Pittsburgh got chewed up by the Jets in Seattle against the run. Peyton Wilson lost those base snaps. Holcomb assumed them, had that forced fumble in that first game back against New England. But then his role also began to reduce and really went away once Malik Harrison came off IR. I think that was sometime in November. So we'll see. But Holcomb back, Pittsburgh being busy signing some of their own today.
All right, and if they were to cut Malik, you save what, about 4 million or something in cash and salary cap space prior to roster displacement there. So it'll be interesting to see. And once again, the Steelers have not made this official and have not made the re-signing of Asante Samuel official, but I would imagine closer we get to 4 Eastern time today, we might get just one alert from the Steelers PR about numerous soon-to-be unrestricted free agents re-signing.
All right, Dave, where to from here? We talked about Minka being traded for a 7th. One guy not traded for a 7th is now Baltimore Ravens pass rusher Maxx Crosby, dealt for 2 first-round picks, the blockbuster deal that took place on Friday night as Baltimore swooped in and made a massive move to acquire Maxx Crosby. So Pittsburgh will now have to face him twice per season.
Yeah, this is a big swing, obviously, for Baltimore. You hate to see them come into the AFC North, but this is a Baltimore Ravens team that really, really struggled in the pass rush department last year. And even though this draft is kind of thick with edge rushers, if you will, I would still imagine they're probably going to take a swing or two in the draft. But you still got a guy that in Maxx Crosby. What is he? Almost 3 years younger than TJ Watt, I think, at this point. Still, obviously, the contract's not awful for them to absorb overall, but you still have to take a big swing like they did, and I think Dallas was in play for maybe a first and a second. I think some of the reports are. We know it sounds like Jerry Jones is going all in this offseason, especially on the defensive side of football. 2 firsts, though, 1 in 2026 and 1 in 2027. That's a hell of a damn swing. But they obviously think they can probably get at least 2, maybe 3 more years out of a guy like Maxx Crosby. And there was kind of rumblings ahead of this that he didn't want to be part of any kind of a rebuild. Obviously, the Raiders are expected to get Mendoza first overall. They'll now have another first-round pick to go along with it in the middle part of the first round. Who knows? Maybe they take a shot at an edge rusher to try to replace Crosby over there. But the fact of the matter is now Maxx Crosby is in the AFC North and will be in the AFC North for the foreseeable future here. So big swing by the Ravens there. And I don't know, would you have given up 2 firsts for him at his age?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, he's 28, so he's not 32, and you're right, 3 years younger than TJ Watt. He's a force multiplier, high impact guy. The way offenses have to play you conceptually changes how many guys you put out in the route. There's just so many kind of domino effects to that. So it's a big price to pay, no question. But I think that's probably a guy that you make that trade for and give up those 2 firsts, because it'll impact more than just your pass rush. It'll impact the entire way that offenses attack and approach you. And Baltimore needed the pass rush help. They did not get it last year. They traded away Oweh. Van Noy fell off. So Mike Green, the rookie, didn't have that productive of a season. So it's an unusual move for Baltimore. First time they've ever traded first-round picks for a player before, but I think this guy was worth it.
Look, they have to get that defense better if they're going to make any kind of run. And, I guess a lot of the speculation that I see coming out of some of the guys, some of the bloggers or whatnot, and beat writers that cover the Ravens is we're probably not too far off from another Lamar Jackson extension being announced. So this is a team obviously with a new head coach, and they feel like they have a good chance of making a run, so they're going to go out and spend 2 firsts on injecting the pass rush or making that pass rush better in a guy like Maxx Crosby. So we'll see how it plays out now for him.
Yep, and Pittsburgh, Troy Fautani's got to get ready to face Maxx Crosby twice a year. You're facing Myles Garrett twice a year. I know the Bengals are losing Hendrickson. We'll see who they replace him with, but you're going to face premier pass rushers in 4 games of your 17. And that's not even including all the other pass rushers you'll face from the other teams on the schedule, just talking in division right now. So big tests ahead for Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. In some other trade news, Rashawn Gary is being traded from the Packers to the Cowboys. I think they're saying that looks like it might be a fourth round draft pick included in that. What else is happening? Taron Johnson, there was news early in the week that the Buffalo Bills were going to cut him. And at that time, I put a tweet out, said, is this one of those get out in front of it in hopes of trying to trade the player? Well, that ended up being exactly what happened. And Taron is going to, where's he going to?
The Raiders.
The Raiders, that's right. So they get a kind of one of those kind of all-purpose. Look, this came right on the heels too of Aaron Rodgers calling Taron Johnson one of the best players in the NFL due to his versatility and all. The Bills are making some schematic change. Obviously, Johnson on the backside of his career, still, if you use him the right way, I think can be impactful. He can play down in the box. He can cover and all like that. Had he been cut outright, it would have been interesting to see if the Steelers would have had maybe any interest in him whatsoever. But that's obviously not going to be the case because Taron Johnson's heading to the Raiders.
Yeah, I had no interest in pursuing Taron Johnson. I liked him a ton as a really strong nickel corner a couple years ago, but he's 30. Pittsburgh already has some nickel options in Ramsey and Eccles. Don't need to pursue 30-year-old cornerbacks declining, which is where Johnson is at. Has had some health issues too. I never even understood the appeal, even trying to connect and link Pittsburgh to Johnson. Rodgers' comments aside, I just never saw the point, so I'm not losing much sleep over that.
We have talked quite about his versatility and all, specifically when he was used in the Bills there. So, look, I mean, there's no sense speculating further out, but it would have been quite interesting to see the teams potentially line up for a guy like Taron had he indeed became a street free agent. But that's not the case. It's all water underneath the bridge at this point.
All right, Dave, any other news coming across the wire right now? I think we hit on some of the big things. Obviously, there's a ton happening around the NFL, so it's impossible to get to everything. We're going to keep things as Pittsburgh-centric as possible. Obviously, there'll be a lot of speculation about potential free agents and names you could connect to the Steelers. We'll have a tracker for around the NFL signings up on the site here. It's already up by the time people listen to this, so we'll keep tabs on where some of the biggest things are going, Pittsburgh or not.
Yeah, and once again, by 4:00, you would think that maybe 4:00 today, the Steelers will at least make official some of these re-signings. It's important to remember that this is officially the tampering period when it comes to these unrestricted free agents. So if indeed we get any reports of the Steelers agreeing to terms to with any of these outside unrestricted free agents, that none of that will be official until the start of the new league year on Wednesday. So the big question is, at this point, we got a couple of re-signings on the board, and you and I kind of went, kind of not a bet, but made predictions. Will the Steelers make an impact or just any outside free agent agreement reported within the first 12 hours? So that would technically run from noon to midnight tonight. So something a little gamemanship for you and I to follow along with here. Interested to see the market here for Isaac Seumalo in the next several hours. Everybody be watching to see what happens with Malik Willis. People are already trying to line him up to go to either, I think, Arizona or Miami, especially with Miami dumping, making some moves with Tua and trading away Minka. So that'll be something to watch. And look, we got a lot of top guys that I imagine a few more hours from now will be coming to terms with new teams.
And just one minor point to watch and I'm curious to see how this will get reported, if at all. The Steelers had proposed a rule change last year to apply for this offseason. The teams could hold 1-hour Zoom calls with up to 5 prospective external free agents. So in theory, Pittsburgh could talk to, let's say, just picking out names, Wide receiver Romeo Doubs becomes an official, legal tampering period opens up at noon, no contract for Doubs. Pittsburgh could call him up and have a conversation up to an hour with him personally, as opposed to previously when all talks were at least above water, supposed to go through the agent. And so that is a rule change that is adopted for 2026. Will that be reported by teams and not by teams, but by insiders, or will that be known after the fact? I don't know exactly how that'll be manifested into the news cycle, but just one interesting note to the start of free agency.
All right, that'll be interesting to track as well too throughout the tampering period here.
All right, Dave, anything else here? Did want to mention just one big off-season exercise I did over the weekend. It went up yesterday, my annual mock off-season, and I tried my hand at putting myself in the GM chair to run the Pittsburgh Steelers, go through free agency and the NFL draft. It's always a fun exercise. You guys seem to get a kick out of it. Your mileage may vary on how well you think I did. I think I did okay in some areas and not so great in a couple others. It's a long read, not worth going into all the details here, but if you want to check it out on the site, just search mock off season and you'll see it and check it out there.
All right, tease a couple. Once again, you put a lot of work into this every year. Quite detailed. Better you than me, but you do a great job. These are great reads. And look, you're not going to hit 100% of this. What are some of the main takeaways from it? What were some of your big hits?
Well, I don't want to give away
swings.
I don't want to give that away because then people just probably won't end up reading it. So,
what are some of the smaller swings?
Well, I'm just trying to think. I mean, it was a very busy draft. I made a couple of trades. I traded for a wide receiver free agency and made a bunch of trades in the draft. So just go check it out. This is all for fun. It's my own sandbox. It's not anything about predicting what's going to happen or has any relevancy to what will actually take place starting today at noon. It's just always a fun little thing I've done for the 11th straight year now, and just like to keep it going and just kind of seeing how I will do, and just to kind of put myself in that chair for once. So it's all just for fun. It means nothing overall, but you guys like reading it. I like writing it, like doing it, and so we have it up on the site.
All right, what do you think about Alex Highsmith getting some big recognition this morning from Micah Parsons on the Twitter machine?
Yeah, Parsons was asked about who are the most underrated pass rushers in football. Parsons rattled off 3 names and included Highsmith on that list. I think it's well-deserved. Obviously, Highsmith gets overshadowed and has been by TJ Watt and the Hall of Famer that Watt is, but Highsmith's been a really good pass rusher with a good bag of tricks, and he talked about that, had a good interview with John Gruden the other day and talked about changing up his stance and approach to pass rushing this year, played with his hand up basically all season long instead of playing in some 3-point stances he was in the past, and kind of refining and working on his rush moves a little bit. So good recognition for Alex Highsmith.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I also yesterday been getting a lot of questions about why I really didn't include TJ Watt in potential restructure candidates as far as my cap update. Look, it's not that there's not the potential that TJ Watt could wind up having his contract restructured, but I think when you look at it overall, and first and foremost, we're still waiting to see what happens, if anything, with Pat Freiermuth. To me, if they wanted to at least loosen up a little bit more cap space here before the start of free agency, Pat Freiermuth would probably be the first guy that they go to for the sheer fact of he's got a $1.5 million roster bonus due here in a 4 days from now, and if they want to be able to include that in the restructure, they would make that they would do that now. There's obviously big cap creating abilities here with guys like DK Metcalf and then obviously TJ Watt. And look, I mean, they could free up what did I write here? $20-something million in salary cap space if they do a full restructure on the TJ Watt contract. But when you do that, you obviously are kicking more money ahead as far as signing bonus proration. What would happen is if you did indeed fully restructure Watt's contract, his cap charge this year would go from $42 million down to 21, a little more than 21.5 million there. But on the flip side, you look at 2027, his cap charge would go from 42 to 52.2 and some change million. And then his 2028 charge, which does not include any guaranteed money, would jump up over 56 million. Now, look, you obviously in 2 years from now, what is the cap number going to be league wide? Probably somewhere around 350 million or so, and then you can get into all the talk are pushing off cap dollars to future years because of the sizable jumps on the cap. A better economic thing to do. Look, dead money is dead money. It still has to be accounted for at some point if a player does not play out obviously his entire contract. TJ Watt is obviously getting up there in years. He's coming off of his worst, statistical season since he was injured a couple of years ago there. You do have to wonder too. Look, I mean, he's got fully guaranteed money this year, 32 million. He's got fully guaranteed money next year of 32 million. There's no guaranteed money on the books for 2028 on him. Is there a potential? Is it realistic that TJ Watt plays only 2 more years and does not see that 2028 year of his contract? Well, we're not going to be able to answer that question until we really get through the next 2 years here. But he is, and a lot of people saying, well, what, looking at the Maxx Crosby thing and all like that, saying, well, if the Raiders were able to get 2 firsts for Maxx Crosby, couldn't the Steelers get at least 1 first for TJ Watt? And I would, my short answer is I would be absolutely surprised if they're able to do that based on, once again, the full guarantee of 32 million this year, full guarantee 32 million in 2027. With Watt, you look at his age and you look at his production, recently, and he has had a few injuries along the way here. I don't think you could get. I think you'd be lucky to even get a second for TJ Watt right now. And even if you were to trade TJ Watt right now, and you did not eat any of his cash this year as part of it, this team would only save like $12 million in salary cap space by doing it. And they're not a team that usually runs away from guys who they consider one helmet guys that they sign to big contracts such as this. So, I mean, I understand a lot of people looking back now and kind of saying, well, they shouldn't have given him this contract to begin with. This is a bad contract. Well, whatever your thoughts on that at this point is, I mean, that it's water underneath the bridge, and I don't think TJ Watt's going anywhere. And if the Steelers need to think long and hard if indeed they want to restructure that contract to free up salary cap space. I would be more apt to really maybe restructure the contract of DK Metcalf before I restructure the contract of TJ Watt. I don't think it's going to get to the point where with either. And look, you don't have to do full restructures on either of these guys either. In other words, if you only needed an additional $8 million in salary cap space in your head, well, you could do just enough with either one of those contracts to do that. That obviously would result in a lower amount of can kicking going forward here. But in my personal opinion, and look, we don't know how busy they're going to be during this free agent signing period, especially with their own and with outside guys. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Aaron Rodgers and how much cap space potentially a 1-year deal could eat up for him. Obviously, if they get into the Malik Willis battle here, what would a first year cap hit look like on him? How much is that? This is a team also that as I pointed out in my cap update, you've got at some point, not right now, there's going to be around $20 million in additional cap cost that this team needs to be able to absorb here at some point. So you got to take that into consideration. Going into this morning, this team had almost $50 million at least in available salary cap space. That's a lot to work with through now and between the draft. So, and they already used up about 3 point something of it on Asante Samuel. probably not much, being it's a 2-year contract on Cole Holcomb, how the way that thing will get divided out there. But I guess what I'm getting at here is I'll be a bit surprised if this team restructures the contract of TJ Watt. It can get done if they needed to go down that road, but I would imagine guys like Pat Freiermuth and maybe even DK Metcalf would get restructured before TJ Watt. But if you're looking at time frames on TJ Watt, there was another thing that I included in that post as well too. There's really no reason to do it right now, this moment, because once again, this team headed into today with nearly $50 million in available salary cap space. I would imagine we'll get a better idea between now and the draft how they look cap wise. And remember, this is a Steelers team that a couple of years ago kind of surprised us, or at least me, that even though I thought maybe potentially an Alex Highsmith restructure could happen a couple of years ago, I thought that would maybe happen more towards the start of the regular season. But remember, they went into that draft and then opened up that freed up even more salary cap space with the Alex Highsmith restructure right before that year. What would that have been? The 2024 draft.
Yeah, that was all the Ayuk
Right.
speculation.
Boy, has that been 2 years already since that happened. It seemed like yesterday we were every other day writing about that stuff.
Don't miss those days.
Yeah.
Although we're just writing about Aaron Rodgers now, so
right.
you just replace one name with
Right.
another, I suppose.
So what are your thoughts on Watt? Do you think they will or should restructure him?
No, I think if you're looking to restructure a really big money contract, you restructure DK Metcalf, younger, more likely to be here 3-4 years from now. So that's probably the place that you go. You don't have big urgency to restructure right now because of the cap flexibility that you've outlined, that Omar Khan has touted. So I think you just let Watt's contract, ride it out as is.
I agree, but I've got it laid out in the post if you want to look at it of what a full restructure would look like either way, and people can make their own decisions from there when it comes to him.
One other note about potential contracts in Pittsburgh and markets that are changing and shifting a little bit, increasing as they always do in the NFL. We saw Trent McDuffie. We talked about, I think it broke during one of our podcasts last week, that he was being traded from the Chiefs to the Rams. They were working on an extension. The Rams and McDuffie got that done. It's a massive contract. We don't know exact details and structure on it, but 4 years, $132 million, I think. I mean, it's $30 million plus per season.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Joey Porter Jr., you're seeing the corner market heat up. Monteric Brown of the Jaguars just re-signed at $11 million. That's small potatoes compared to what Porter's going to get, but you're just seeing any good corner get paid something, and top guys getting paid massive amounts of money. So that's going to tell you Joey Porter Jr. is going to be highly paid once that extension happens, assuming it happens later this summer.
Yeah, exactly. And look, Monteric re-signing that, Joey's not even looking at that deal.
But just to say, any
right.
good corners getting good money, and the really good corners are getting great money.
Yeah, look, within the first 2 weeks, I imagine of free agency here, the all the top corners will have signed at that point. We'll get a better look and all. But as you said, we got a new leader in the clubhouse as far as highest paid cornerback in the league. I think that worked out to $31 million with him and the Rams.
Like I said, I got to look at the exact details of it. I'm seeing 4-year, $124 million extension. So I might have misspoke earlier, but we're still talking $30 million plus, yeah.
Right. So, and you'd have to think as a floor, and I think we said this a few weeks ago, the absolute floor, at least right now, feels like it might be $20 million average yearly value when it comes to a new Joey Porter Jr. deal. And the meters running. It doesn't sound like the Steelers are in a hurry to get anything done with Joey Porter Jr. right now. If and when anything does happen, I would imagine it'd be after training camp gets underway. But yeah, you could be looking at Joey Porter Jr. I don't think Joey Porter Jr. is going to come in number one. Nor do I think he should. But I don't think it's unrealistic to when all the dust settles that. I mean, you got a guy like Jalen Ramsey right now who's what is he, safety corner, whatever you want to call him, sitting at 24.1, you would kind of think that Joey Porter Jr. would expect to top that number. You got J.C. Horn right now at 25 million. You got a gap between him and Derek Stingley, who's at 30 million. You obviously got Ahmad Gardner with the Colts sitting at 30.1. So I think it's realistic to start looking ahead at Joey Porter's Jr. His market probably being at least the floor being 25 million, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably the floor. 20 million even feels like no chance on getting an extension done at that number. So I haven't played around too much with what that market's going to be. And obviously, with the way some of these top corners get paid, starting with today's legal tampering period, will help, I think, cement and formulate kind of floors and maybe ceilings for Porter a bit firmer. But we're talking 25 million probably plus as a good starting point if you're Porter and his camp.
Now, you do have the old franchise tag sword that you can wave at him for back-to-back tags, and Joey Porter Jr. was one of the 3 players who had a proven performance escalator raise this offseason, puts him just under $4 million. So there would be that game to play. But look, it's very, very plausible, probable that when the dust finally settles, that Joey Porter Jr. is signing an extension with a new money value, and the PPG will come out and say they ripped up his contract. It's a new contract, but it's an extension, folks, and the new money average will come in probably around 25 million or greater. And we'll get a better idea once the free agent market settles down at corner here in a couple weeks.
Exactly. So even though some of these signings may not on paper have anything to do with Pittsburgh, as was the case with McDuffie, it still has a domino effect down the road impact on Pittsburgh because they're really for the first time could have several extensions to look at this summer. Porter, Benton, Washington. We'll see about Herbig as well. What some of these other guys, their peers signed for around the NFL, what the market sets for them will dictate what those prices and asks and negotiations will be revolving around.
What was Joey Porter's career earnings? I meant to look at that
Ooh, that's
before
a fun question.
I'm looking at over the
And
cap.
you mean senior, just to be clear for anyone not picking what you're putting down.
Senior.
Yes.
Joey Porter's career earnings senior was a little over 47.5 million.
Will Joey Porter Jr.'s guaranteed money on his extension be more than that?
Well, obviously they had to guarantee past the first year, and we all know unless he's the top, well, the DK Metcalf line was DK came in at was DK second at the time or third? You remember a year ago?
Second or third in what? In receiver payments?
Yeah, in positional money by the time that ink dried. Let me see if I can find that real quick here. Man, it's hard to believe it's been a year ago.
Yeah, I think 1 year yesterday was the day. I'll even include just the injury guarantee in the Porter Jr. contract and in the sense of how it'll be framed by agents. I'm even including that in the career earnings question just to kind of have some fun with it.
Okay, well, if you're talking about how much total cash through what they would call year one, which would be the first new year of which would be 2027. Yeah, there's a good chance that total value, if he has a 25 APY, that is his 2-year take could exceed that 47.5 million. Yes.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. So, I mean, Porter really played well, really came on strong, was consistent, steady. The interception, the ball production still isn't there, and that's one thing you're missing, but the rest of the play's been good.
Right. So I meant to look that up with Joey Porter, but 47.5 million for his career earnings.
Yes, times have changed, and McDuffie got 100 million guaranteed. Now that I'm sure has a lot of injury guarantee, and that is not fully guaranteed. We don't believe, but in terms of just what the initial report will be, I guess Porter probably is going to be maybe not 100 million guaranteed, but I don't know, 70 million in terms of how that's going to get reported out initially on a $100 million+ extension.
Yeah, I'll play around with that once we get into free agency. I like to do these contract projections, and but yeah, look at the very least, I would expect for year zero, which they call which would be this year with Porter, I imagine that would exceed 25 million.
All right, Dave.
Then go from there.
Good deal. Anything else? We're going to try to keep this thing pretty short today, get this posted. I know things will probably change by the time people listen to this. We'll be back on Wednesday to recap anything new, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of new for us to discuss.
All right, looks like Sheldon Rankins is going back to the Texans on a 2-year deal. $12 million of the deal is guaranteed. That's the early reporting on that. Khalil Mack, obviously back with the Chargers. What was that?
That was a fully guaranteed $18 million contract.
$18 million contract with him. Let's see if there's anything else happening here right off the jump. As you mentioned, Monteric, Buster Brown agreed to terms on a 3-year, $33 million deal with the Jaguars. What else is happening around the league? You seen anything breaking late here?
Who are the big free agents to watch today? Maybe not even just for Pittsburgh, but just around the NFL. The biggest names who appear to be hitting the legal tampering part. You got receiver Alec Pierce, center Tyler Linderbaum.
Malik.
Those are Malik Willis, of course. Yeah, certainly a huge name there. Those are probably some of the biggest ones defensively. Who are the biggest names out there? I have to kind of refresh my list of names. A lot of good corners. There's a decent amount of safeties as well. Maybe a little bit later on the pass rush end. I think John Franklin Myers will get the bag out there. So certainly some names to watch.
All right, Trey Hendrickson, where is he going to land? A lot of people pointing to the Cowboys to go along with maybe newly acquired Rashawn Gary over there. A lot of people wondering if Mike Evans has played his last snap for the Buccaneers at this point. Who else as far as restricted types? David Njoku, I think, his contract voids here pretty soon. Gonna be interesting to watch him. Oh Lord. Romeo Doubs, obviously. As a Steeler fan, we're gonna have a lot of eyes. A lot of people be hoping that maybe the Steelers can get something worked out with him. Who are the most probable? What position would be the most probable by the end of the day that we know the Steelers have agreed to terms with as far as an outside unrestricted free agent? Probably wide receiver, right?
Yeah, I would say receiver. I think corner's an option. Safety, depending on how they view Ramsey. And what about the status of Kenneth Gainwell? Is he a re-signing? Does he go elsewhere? If he goes elsewhere, then does Pittsburgh dip their toe into the running back market? The draft class is not especially strong this year, so I think you got to look at running back too as a sleeper if Gainwell walks.
All right. What about Jones? I had Troy write about this yesterday about Aaron Jones, but he's not officially cut yet, right? Aaron Jones, wasn't he somebody that the Vikings were supposed to cut after the start of the new league year? I guess what I'm getting at is if you missed out, if you weren't able to re-sign Kenneth Gainwell, with the links of Aaron Jones back to Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, how much sense would that make if you could get him, let's say, 2/3 of the value of whatever Kenneth Gainwell signs for elsewhere, if that were to happen?
I mean, Jones is 31. I think there were some health issues last year. The McCarthy ties matter more than what Aaron Rodgers does or does not do, but I'd probably be looking at something younger than Aaron Jones.
All right, could Christian Kirk be somebody the Steelers, make a play for here in free agency?
Doesn't feel like an immediate out of the gate first wave kind of a guy because again he didn't do anything until the playoff game. It just really came down to that one game he had against Pittsburgh in the wild card round. So yeah, I mean again Pittsburgh should be in on receivers. I'm sure we'll hear a lot about those names off the jump here.
Wan'Dale Robinson, a lot of people are trying to link him to the Titans, it feels like. Jalen Naylor, it'd be interesting to see if the Steelers have any interest in him. But boy, it starts getting real thin real quick. Where will Calvin Austin? Will Calvin Austin have an agreement in place with another team by the end of by midnight, let's say?
We'll see. I think he's one of those second wave receivers. I think the first waves have to fall first, which starts with Alec Pierce and Mike Evans and Romeo Doubs and potentially others. But I'm sure those dominoes will fall in by the time we probably talk on Wednesday.
All right, Isaac Seumalo figures to be one of the first interior offensive linemen off the board here. People be watching what happens with Juwan Jennings with the 49ers. I think that's another interesting name. And Rashid Shaheed with the Seahawks. Sounds like they're going to let that contract void and him become a free agent as well. So, all right.
And just quickly, if Seumalo leaves, does Pittsburgh look to the veteran guard market to replace him? Do they decide to go for some cheap contract and draft? The guard market's always going to be expensive. We've already seen these interior lineman re-signings and centers on the open market get paid well. McGovern, Biades, and others. So Linderbaum's going to wreck the market at center. So, for Pittsburgh, do they jump in the veteran market? Do they kind of take a more cautious approach? I really want to watch that.
You think Linderbaum re-signs with the Ravens here, 11th hour, or do you think he ends up elsewhere?
Elsewhere, probably to Washington.
Okay. All right. That'll be interesting to watch as well, too. Even though, didn't Washington just sign? Oh, no, they cut Biades, didn't they?
Yeah, he went to the Chargers.
Yeah.
The Bears, I feel like the Bears were going to be in on it, on Linderbaum, but they traded for Bradbury. Kind of feels like that's going to be the replacement for Drew Dahlman.
And what about Decker out with the Lions? That feels like he might end up with the Bears, right?
I don't know where he's going to go. I just know he got cut. I mean, the Bears certainly could use help. They've had injuries there. They just lost, who was it, Trapillo, that I think went down in the playoff game. So, yeah, they need to retool that line again.
All right, to reset as we close things out here before we get out of here, Asante Samuel Jr., Cole Holcomb sound like the two unrestricted free agents that the Steelers are re-signing back to this team. We mentioned at the top of the show, Minka being traded from the Dolphins to the Jets. Two of the big news that we knew was coming is being let loose by the Dolphins, and everything else that we mentioned at the top of the show. I'm not seeing any late breaking news here, so it's a perfect time to get out of here so that 5 minutes after we get off the show, some Steeler news will break. But if anything massive happens, we'll be back, I guess, tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. And if not, then we will be back out this thing Wednesday morning, bright and early with a podcast, and no live stream tonight, right?
Yeah, no live stream. It's part of our normal schedule, but works out well. It'll be a busy day for us. No emails today, I don't think, because we need to get the show posted, and we'll have a lot of emails and a lot of things to discuss with you guys, I'm sure, on our next podcast. So we'll come back then.
All right. Let's see here. You can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. We have a tracker up on SteelersDepot.com throughout the day and throughout the next few days of happenings around the NFL. If you want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button and follow the directions that way. So, until the next time we meet, it could be as early, maybe as Tuesday morning, maybe Wednesday morning. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.